Happy holidays!
Merry Christmas!
Yes, we're excited to be back for another episode today. And today, Greg, we're going to be talking about how to respond to certain student comments.
Yes, and so one thing is for certain, as long as you remain in education, is that students are going to comment.
Yes, and try to get under your skin.
Right. And some of the comments will be legitimate, sincere inquiries and things like that. And other comments, like Jessica was just saying, may sometimes be designed just to evoke a certain response from you.
Yes, and I wanted to mention that we got this idea for this episode from some of our beginning teachers that said they were having a hard time with it. So we thought it would be a good thing to talk about today. And what we did was we sent out certain student comments to some of our veteran teachers in the district and how they would respond to the comments. So we have a variety, and so we're just gonna go ahead and get started with the first one.
But before we do that,
yes,
I would like to preface this by saying that sometimes the best strategy is just to not respond.
That's right.
So there may be things that students say that you may want to just get back on task. Like not even engage with the dialogue that the student is trying to initiate. Sometimes ignoring things is a strategy. Now, we don't want to ignore our students all day, every day, and not let them, feel like they're heard. But I do think sometimes it can be powerful just to pretend like you didn't hear it.
Yes, and we've said it before, but I think it's worth saying again. You never, as an adult, want to get into an argument with students because we are the teacher, we are the professional, and the adult in the room. So we don't argue with. I tell my own kids that sometimes. I'm not arguing with you. Like we're not doing it. So the purpose of this is not to give you an argument.
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's or a way to be sarcastic, even though sometimes it can be easy to do that.
Right. Yes, but sometimes I think there are our beginning teachers. We do have BTs that don't have kids of their own,
right,
and haven't worked with kids a lot, and they just don't know what the appropriate banter, for lack of a better word, is with kids.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it can be playful and disarming. We want to de-escalate things, and so the goal is always, I always say, the kids can be at level 10. We've got to be at level 2. So we want to the goal is to neutralize things and to bring things down. But let's just jump into it and see what happens.
Okay, all right. So the first comment from a student that we're going to talk about is, "I don't like you."
I've never heard that before.
Now, I will say, as a first grade teacher, I really don't. I think, elementary elementary students will say that, but I do think it's more of a secondary.
Upper elementary, middle school thing, and maybe even high school.
Yeah.
I don't like you. And of course that can be, said with different tones,
right,
too, and tone is important. But did you see a response there that stuck out to you that you think is a great response for "I don't like you"?
Well, I noticed that a lot of our teachers said things like, "Oh, I hate to hear that. I hope I can change your mind,"
Mm-hmm.
Or "I'm sorry to hear that,"
Mm-hmm.
Just as a response, and really kind of left it at that.
Mm-hmm.
I do think too it's a good thing to say, or to stop and think too, as a teacher, to be reflective. Like if you've got a lot of students saying that to you, you might want to stop and think, why do they not like me? Because kids do. I mean, they are very honest, and sometimes there is a reason. So,
I do like this response, and this is, I would pull the kid aside, and we don't want to do things publicly. Sometimes they can say things publicly, but we want to respond privately.
Mm-hmm.
Like we don't want to, but other times you might want to respond openly. But here, this particular response says, not every teacher is going to be the right personality. You pull them aside, and we're allowed to have our opinions, but not all opinions need to be shared. Do you think saying something like that is kind? Right. So kind of just use that as a teachable moment to get a little character ed in. I think that's could be, depending on the child, I think that's, and then they put, regardless of it being true or not, it isn't kind that we don't need to express it out loud.
That's true. Sometimes some things we need to keep to ourselves.
So just kind of teach them that, like it's not in your best. I used to do this with my kids all the time. It is not in your best interest to share that with me.
Yeah.
I am in charge of the grade book, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. And so kids, especially middle school kids, they don't stop and think about that. You pull them aside and you just kind of logically lay it out.
Yeah.
Now, is it in your best interest to let me know that? You're only hurting you. Is what you're trying to get them to arrive at.
Right.
And I used to use the analogy all the time. Like let's say that this is a company and I'm your boss, and now let's think
Right.
about it like,
It's a good life skill to learn. Yeah. Another one about pulling them aside I liked was maybe at the end of class, maybe you ignored it during class and just went on with instruction, but at the end of class you could pull them aside and just say, I'm sorry that you feel that way. Can you tell me why you don't like me?
Try to gather some information. I think reacting with curiosity is a powerful strategy.
Because this teacher said it's very important to make students reflect in what they say and or in the way they act. So, and maybe there is a legitimate reason that, they feel that way, and that's something that you can work on.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, and I hate to put this out there, but, if a kid is saying that, I think it would be good to reflect a little and just try to think, okay, what have I done that has upset this student, and maybe what can I do differently? Because sometimes there's some truth. I hate to go there.
Yeah, sometimes.
But I've been there.
But sometimes they might say, "Well, I don't like you because you make me do my work."
Right.
Well, that's
right. Totally.
So sorry.
Yeah, and those of us that held them accountable and that hold them accountable in the classroom, sometimes we're perceived as mean and different things just because we're just making them work. So.
And I have a little example with that one. So my mother-in-law, I don't think she would mind me sharing this, was a high school math teacher. And she did hold her kids accountable. She was very tough. She loved them. But I've heard many, as her students have become adults and we see them in the community or whatever, they'll come up and say, I really didn't like your class when I had you, but I really appreciate it now. And I know you had, I really learned a lot. So
sure.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Any more on that one?
This might end up being a two-parter, and that's okay because I think this is important conversation. I don't really see another one there that, hold on. I do like the I'm not my own biggest fan sometimes either. I mean, those of us that, I did use humor to neutralize things. And you got to know your kids and this, that, and the other. But I'm not my own biggest fan sometimes either. But how we feel about me is the issue here.
Yeah. Just to bring something.
Yeah. So I think anytime you can lighten it up with some authentic humor that isn't mean-spirited, I think that's a great strategy. It can be a great strategy. Let's look at the next one. It says, the next comment, this class is so boring.
Oh, we've never heard that
right.
before either.
Or this activity is so boring.
Okay, I love this one. What? I love this. I hope that you can find something you like. What do you think could make it more fun?
So again, gathering the information that you might be able to help.
Now on that one, again, you might not want to ask in front of the whole class what can make it more fun because you never know what's going to come out of their mouth.
That's true.
So again, pulling them aside after class or even bending down like after the kids are working and just like having a private whisper conversation, you could ask for feedback in that way. But I do like this one too, Greg, because this is the truth just in life. But it says, I'm sorry you aren't having fun. Unfortunately, all of our lessons cannot be super fun because, not everything in life can be fun. But I will try to make our next lesson together more fun for you.
Yes, I like that one too. And I do think that we need to continually reflect at the end of the day. If you perceive that your students are bored, and they don't have to announce that they're bored for you to perceive that, then you need to do something to get them engaged because they can be bored and well-behaved for a little while, some of them, but they're not going to be bored every day and not misbehave.
Well, and I'll say too, as a teacher, when I planned engaging like different types of activities, I was more excited about the lessons too. I mean, not that every day has to be different, but I'm just saying, like today we're going to incorporate technology. Tomorrow we're going to do some group work. The next day it might be mostly lecture and notes, just trying to change up the engagement.
I do like that. I would love to hear suggestions on how we can make things fun.
Yes. Yes.
I do
And
that.
even doing like a little, it could be a Google form or just even like an exit ticket where they tell you their favorite types of activities to do in class.
Mhm.
Right now, I think you have to do a little preloading with. I'm not talking about having a pizza party or like talking the whole time. It has to be related to the curriculum. So,
Yeah, but my good friend Donna Sawyer that used to help us with a lot of stuff in the district, she would say the best response would be to pull them aside and say, "Why do you think it's boring?" So to gather the information, and then and then if they give you information, use it. Don't just sit on it.
And you can also use that as an incentive for the class, right? So like if they say, "I really like it when we play the such and such game," you can have a goal. Okay, if you guys, are behaving and you do a good job on this independent practice or whatever, or you listen during my lecture, then tomorrow we'll do whatever it is that they enjoy with the class. So.
Yeah, and kids say things they don't mean, but sometimes they're also honest, and sometimes they're brutally honest. So again, use that as a reflection piece. Next one.
For sure. Okay, you get on my nerves. I feel like that was a lot like I don't like
It
you.
is a lot like I don't like you. But let's see if we had some different responses here.
Okay. I'm sorry you feel that way, but I'm going to teach you regardless. Which is similar to the first one. Do you want to tell a funny one, Greg?
Well, this is Brian Foster's.
Just call it
I'm just
out.
going to go ahead and call it. And we love Brian.
Yes, we do.
He said, technically, nerves don't touch. So you can't get on them, but instead fire chemical communications across the tiny space called synapse.
I know. I don't know that.
I would have to look it up. I didn't teach science. I was an English
Good
major.
vocabulary, Brian.
Yeah.
Thanks for throwing that in there for us.
Yeah, but and again, that's using humor to defuse the situation can work really well if delivered with the right heart, with the right kid.
This is another funny one. Lucky for you, we have a whole nervous system with thousands of nerves and neurons. Again, we're not encouraging being sarcastic, but every now and then throwing in some humor is fun.
Yeah.
I'm sorry you feel that way. We're going to meet people who are not going to be our favorite. However, we can still be respectful. So, I think this one's really good, Greg, because I hear a lot of feedback from teachers on students not doing their work. So this comment, so we'll move on to the next one. I refuse. You can't make me. So like you give an assignment and the student is like basically like blatantly saying, "I'm not going to do it." Do you have any good ones on that?
I don't know. I refuse. You can't make me. Let's see. You're right. I can't. You have to make that decision.
That's right. And I think this is we talk with teachers all the time when they say things like students aren't doing the work. And my question always is, have you given them a 0 for unfinished work? Because, and I know all parents are not involved, but even with the student, even if the parents aren't involved, if they see it negatively affecting their grade, most students care. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
I know there's the few that don't care, but most students do care, but they just think if it's not affecting their grade and they don't have to do it, that they're not going to. But if they start seeing that, then, and on that note, making parent contacts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, Mrs. Griffin, I really enjoy teaching Greg this year. But I've noticed lately that he has not been completing work, and he even like tells me he's not going to. And I just wanted you to know that he has 4 zeros in our class right now, and if he doesn't make up the work, then he's gonna fail. So, and I want him to be successful. Is there anything you can do to help me with this?
Yes. Yeah, that's good. And here's another one that I really like. Again, the comment was, "I refuse. You can't make me." I refuse. You can't make me. You are correct. I can't make you, but let's be aware of the consequences before we make that choice.
Right.
So again, I think that would be best done pulling them aside on the download to the side and calmly
Right.
but we blow it when we're not calm.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're correct. I can't make you this completely different.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be aware of the consequences before we make the choice. No, it's more like a calm, might lower your voice a little bit, pull them aside, depending on how worked up they are.
And when you pull them aside, it may be not. I know it's not usually this, but sometimes it's they really don't understand, and so to save face, they're like, "I'm just not going to do it." So it could be a situation where they just need some extra scaffolding or support to complete the assignment or to be successful with it. So that could be another issue.
By the way, I want to give credit for that comment. That was Heather Stoll from Western Hartnett High School, who said, "I can't make you just be aware of the consequences before we make that choice."
Yeah, and that is a good thing to teach our students because when they are adults, they have to make choices.
Well, they don't think about consequences.
Right.
Right. And sometimes adults don't.
Yes.
But I like Mr. Smith's class better than this one.
Oh.
I like Miss So-and-so's class better than this one. I like. I've heard that. That's a middle school. That's such a middle school thing. All right. And then this person said, "Really, I wish I could be in there."
Maybe I should check it out and see what they're doing. This one, every class has a different style. I'd love to hear what you enjoy in Mr. Smith's class so I can learn from it too. Like that. This one just says, "Yeah, Mr. Smith is pretty awesome."
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let you pit us against each other. I'm gonna be an adult.
Because we're
right.
Yep.
And that comment, that can. I'm just gonna be honest. That can hurt your feelings a little bit, But a lot of times it's not rooted in anything logical. Like the other teacher that they're saying that they like better could be just letting them do nothing.
Right.
Not holding them accountable. It's not good for them. So you got to keep that in mind. But it could be that it is an amazing class and they're learning a lot too. So we don't want to get too upset about it because we don't know what's informing it. And it could be that they don't even like the other class and they're just saying that to get under your skin. So you got to remember there's a lot of directions that could come from.
I like this one too. It says, "I'll be sure to tell him I know he'll appreciate knowing how much you
positive
enjoy class." Yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to let that. We're not going to have a bad day. We're not going to let it upset us. We're going to just keep it positive.
Yeah, for sure.
But if they are being truthful, and maybe you need to find out what the other teacher's doing.
Yeah, all my kids love your class.
Right. Everybody says they love your class. What are you doing in here? What's your secret? And see if you can't pick up some tips, especially if it's a veteran teacher that's been at it for a while. Yeah. All
right, we're gonna move on to the last comment.
Okay, we are gonna get finished in one episode.
Yeah. Yay. Okay, I can tell you don't like me. It's your fault I'm failing this class.
All right. Instead of I don't like you, it's you don't like me.
You don't like me.
Right.
That's why I'm not.
And a lot of times, kids, and when I train teachers, I tell them if a kid is failing or got in trouble or whatever, they get off the bus and they say all the time, "Mr. Griffin doesn't like me." Kids will say anything to get out of hot water. And so this could be a mechanism of that. But what did you see that you liked there?
Well, I think it goes back to like seeking to understand, right? So again, I think one strategy that we've said over and over again is like that private conversation, like, why do you feel that way? And you might be doing something that you don't realize, like maybe you're never calling on them in class, or you point out what they're doing wrong all the time, but don't point out what Carol's doing wrong.
Right.
Kind of thing. But just like having that private conversation is always a good thing. Also, going back to, I like you just fine, but my number one goal is to make you successful in this class. And so I do, telling them that you do love them or like them. Here's another one. Kind of skipping over the feelings. Just let's see why you're failing this class and work together to fix it. Because that also can show that you care, right? Yeah,
and I don't know if you mentioned the one did you talk about the one that said, I was going through these, I do not determine who passes or fails based on my likes.
Oh no, we didn't have that. Yes.
I'm sorry, but I do not determine who passes or fails based on who I like. I mean, again, that's just you're logically laying out the truth of the matter. We can't fail kids that we don't care for.
Right. I mean, it's all
I mean,
grades.
yeah, the grade book is transparent. You know, parents can see the grades and that kind of thing, so you can just kind of explain that. And I don't know.
Yeah.
But this has been, I think, to me, this is like a good practical thing to think about and to talk about, because a lot of times we just don't know what to say.
Yes, and I love this. I think this is kind of like a good concluding thought that one of the teachers shared. Is that
Okay.
we as teachers can't take the things our students say to us so personally. Most of the time, they are mad at someone or something else, and they take it out on us. That's not an excuse for students to be disrespectful, but we need to pick our battles. Talking to students individually, away from their classmates, works well for me. We often don't know what our students go home to, and talking to them one-on-one helps to get to know the students better and allows me to see things from a different perspective. Don't you think that's such great advice?
I do, and and I really feel like as a lateral entry teacher, when I came in many years ago, that was one of my biggest mistakes that I made, was I did take it personal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and as somebody, you know, I was young, you know, but if somebody would have come along and explained that to me,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know why it wasn't something that I just arrived at myself, but don't take the things we say personally. They would say it to anybody in that position sometimes. So I always say sometimes they don't even like themselves because they're going through this tough age,
Mm-hmm.
and so they're just taking that lack of peace that they have inside out on whoever's
Yes.
in sight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we just have to keep that in mind, right? And we err towards grace. You know, when we don't know what to say, let's err towards, you know, let's be humorous, or let's be positive, or let's be forgiving, or however. Let's kind of move to that side when we're not quite sure what to do.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. If y'all have any ideas for podcast topics, please send those to me or Jessica. And we hope you enjoyed this.
Yeah, I hope it was helpful.
Yeah.
Next time a student says something that gets under your skin, you'll have a good little response, or maybe just ignore it altogether.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
all right.
Merry Christmas and
We'll see
happy
you next
holidays,
time.
everybody.